The dead bench is a must-try movement. Not only will it get you very strong and jacked, but your raw bench will rise like crazy. So in this video, I'm going to dissect all the benefits. First and foremost, the dead bench is a bench press done off the pins, starting from the bottom. So the pins are set to the chest level or slightly above the chest, maybe 1 to 2 inches maximum, just so you can get tight. And it's concentric based. No preloading, no unrack, none of that stuff. It's just one all-out strain, boom, you're done. That's a dead bench. Now, if you were to do multiple repetitions, that would be a low pin press. Or if you started with the unracked and then lowered it, then pressed again, that's not a dead bench. So, what are the benefits? Well, a good way to phrase it is that the dead bench is like the deadlift of bench pressing. It's concentric based, where you have no stretch reflex whatsoever, no preloading. You simply get under the bar and you're exploding from nothing. It's not like a squat where you have to walk out and then do the deep repetition. No, this is a dead bench. It even says it in the name, right? So what does this accomplish? Well, it gets you very, very, very strong from the bottom position, which is the most difficult position for the majority of raw benchers. This is the weak link, and the dead bench corrects that. You are building pure raw strength in the most difficult position. You want to talk about specificity? You want to talk about carryover? You want to talk about building watermelon pecs? This is getting the job done, guaranteed. You're in a maximally stretched position, deep range of motion, building strength in the hardest possible position, and developing explosiveness simultaneously. It's a lift where you either make it or you don't. Usually the way it works is you get under it, you start pressing it off your chest, it starts budging a little bit, and then it's like, all right, you got it. You can't make it past the halfway point, you're not going to lock it for the most part. So this is a movement that really gets you strong, man. When you do touch and go bench, there's a possibility that you might bounce the weight off your body, okay, which momentum, it's not the same. When you do a pause bench, first of all, you have the eccentric loading factor. Then you also have the stretch reflex, which remains. So it's not the same as a dead bench where you're really starting from absolute nothingness. So this is an exercise that I could see benefiting a multitude of different strength athletes. It's a great lift for bodybuilding purposes as well. And you just can't go wrong with it. Now, for most people, this will be less than a pause bench. The way it works is either it's going to be less than your pause bench, the same, or slightly stronger. I don't know why this is the case, but it seems to be like an anthropometry type thing, depending upon your leverages. Some people, they get more or less out of it. But besides that, it doesn't really matter so much. Now, in terms of practical considerations, how to implement this into your routine, I would add the dead bench to your workouts at least once a week. You don't have to do it twice a week, although you certainly could, but once a week should be satisfactory. Okay, it could be done before your regular benching. It could be done right after, whatever you decide to do. And I also recommend that you change the variation, okay, to override the biological law of accommodation. This is especially true if you're training like me. I use concurrent periodization where I have a volume day, intensity day, and I rotate the lifts all the freaking time, okay? So there's different styles of dead benching. You can do it with a regular grip. You can do it with a close grip. You can do it with the pins set to the chest level. You can do it slightly above that. You can use a football bar. You can use a regular bar, okay? You could use accommodating resistance if you choose to. You could use a slingshot if you choose to, which is actually a really good way of building raw bottom strength while simultaneously saving the shoulders. You'll find that you don't get much out of it because you don't have the eccentric loading factor, okay, which is what helps with a slingshot. So there's a lot of different variations to use. I recommend rotating them very frequently. And in terms of the sets and reps, well, obviously the dead bench, you'll be doing a lot of singles. I like the max effort method. So I'll either do the max effort method or I'll do it after my main press and I'll perform the 3 sets of 1 at 90% or the 5 sets of 1 at 90%. That said, you can also do high sets of singles as your main movement. Okay, you can easily just do dead bench, 5 sets of 1, and then right after you do close grip pause benching, maybe a 3x3. That said, if you want to do repetitions of this lift, again, that's really a low pin press, but it's also very effective. And I would advise more so doing that as your secondary press. So something like a 3 sets of 3 or a 3x5, 5x5 as well if you're going to do a volume day. But that's about it. But keep in mind, the dead bench, because it's metal on metal, you're hitting the pins, could be a little bit stressful on your recovery. So don't overdo it. And that's why I'm only saying once a week should be satisfactory. And it doesn't have to be every single week. I don't do it every week personally, but I try to get in at least once or twice a month, all right? If we're talking about the intensity days in particular. So pay attention to your recovery and also make sure that you're still doing regular benching simultaneously. This way, you got the movement pattern down and the carryover will be as high as possible if that's what you want, okay? If you only care about getting stronger at the dead bench alone, then obviously you can do that as much as you want, okay? So those are my thoughts on it. It's a great mass builder for the chest, shoulders, and triceps. Obviously, it's a deep position, full range of motion. You can't go wrong with that. Builds amazing general strength for a multitude of different sports. Builds explosiveness. Great carryover, great movement, period. This is probably one of my favorite variations of all time. I wish I started doing these a long time ago, like vigorously, because it's changing the way that I see training as well as my gains. Like, I'm really benefiting from this lift, and I know that you will as well. So that's the dead bench. Try it out next workout and enjoy the gains, my friend.